What's up, guys? Welcome back to my channel. I'm Rasan427 with another top 10 video, and these are my top 10 favorite WWE wrestlers of all time. And you know, I just stuck to WWE because WWE is like the main thing I watch. That's the main thing I grew up on. This is the main thing I watch even to this day. Like, that's like, I go back and I watch mainly all WWE stuff. I do watch WCW stuff, but then at the same time, it's like all the WCW guys are actually WWE guys, so it kind of doesn't even matter. But, you know, and I was a fan of other promotions like TNA and stuff like that, but none of them really in my top 10, to be honest. But, actually, I'm going to be getting into my top 10 favorite wrestlers of all time, favorite WWE wrestlers of all time, and these are the ones that stood out to me the most. These are the ones that I liked, and these are the ones that I loved and I enjoyed the most out of all of them inside the history of WWE, WWF, whatever you want to call it. But these are the ones that I loved and I enjoyed the most. Starting out at my number 10 spot, I actually have Triple H. You know, Triple H is a 14-time world champion, King of the Ring winner, 2-time Royal Rumble winner, is a W Hall of Famer, which he actually didn't go in by himself, which I'm assuming that he's going to be going in by himself soon. I don't know, since he's running a company where he want to induct himself into the Hall of Fame. I really don't know about that, but he got inducted with the Generation X back in 2019 or 2020, something like that. But he's a WWE Hall of Famer as well. And, you know, the thing about Triple H is that he's one of my favorite heels of all time. I mean, growing up, you know, watching him back in 2006, 2007, he's actually, well, mainly when I was growing up, he was actually a baby face most of the time. But actually going back to the year 2000 and the Attitude Era, you see how great of a heel he was. But I really never got the chance to see that actually growing up, him as a heel. But actually going back and watching, you know, he does have some blemishes on his resume and stuff like that. The Reign of Terror, that really wasn't that good of a run. Even though, I mean, he dominated and he was a world champion for like, what, 280 days, you know. He did bury a lot of people, and that's just me being honest, like Booker T, Rob Van Dam, Scott Steiner, Goldberg. He did do all that, but I still think he was a tremendous wrestler, a tremendous on the mic. And I heard some people, like, because of what he did, like burying people and everything like that, people actually try to discredit just because some of the things that, you know, he did behind the scenes. You can't really do that because you got bigger stars like Hogan and Stone Cold who've done stuff just like that behind the scenes. Because he's not as big of a star as them, and I guess people don't really give it a pass for that. But just like, you shouldn't try to diminish him because of that. He's still a great in-ring performer. He still is great on the mic. He's one of the greatest of all times, and probably top 3 heels of all time, to be honest. But my favorite match of him of all time is the WrestleMania 20 main event. That's my favorite match. Triple threat match. Chris Benoit, Shawn Michaels, and Triple H. That's my favorite Triple H. My favorite Triple H match of all time. And I do have duplicate matches, and I actually thought about, you know, switching up the match because I have like 2 wrestlers inside the same match, so that would be the favorite. But I just say, you know, I'm going to keep it as a favorite because that is my favorite. So I'll keep it that way. And moving on to my number 9 spot, it's actually Batista. Now, Batista is actually a 6-time world champion. He's a 2-time Royal Rumble winner. And, you know, the second Royal Rumble win, which was pretty terrible because, you know, a lot of people want Daniel Bryan to win. And, you know, he didn't deserve to actually have that happen to him. He just basically came at the wrong place, wrong time. Well, no, because if he came back in 2013 probably wouldn't have worked unless he would have fought The Rock. I guess 2013 would have worked. But even 2015, if Batista returned, it's still maybe 2016, 2017, if he returned later on, especially 2019 when he had his last match against Triple H, I think it maybe would have worked better for him like that. But even if he came back the year after, 2015, they still would have booed him and everything like that. But he did put over Daniel Bryan in the main event of WrestleMania. But let's talk about Batista. You know, Batista actually ended Triple H's reign of terror. He ended Triple H's long title reigns and stuff like that. He actually ended that. But I just really loved Batista growing up. I mean, we all knew that Batista was basically the number 2 guy. He was the top guy on SmackDown. He was number 2 to John Cena. But I always loved Batista. He had some great matches. And my favorite match from his is the WrestleMania 23 match with him and the Undertaker. And that's one of my favorite. That's one streak match that I wish would get talked about even more because that wasn't. Nobody really expected them to have that great of a match and that great of a feud. That whole year, they put on absolutely fantastic matches. Him and Undertaker all throughout the year, they put on fantastic matches for both of them. But yeah, I just absolutely love Batista. To my number 8 spot is actually Randy Orton. He actually is a 14-time world champion. Money in the Bank winner, 2013, a Raw Money in the Bank winner, 2-time Royal Rumble winner, and you know, I always loved Randy Orton. He was probably the best in-ring performer throughout all those years of me growing up inside the Ruthless Aggression era. I always loved Randy Orton in the ring, and you know, one of my favorite matches from his and one of my favorite moments is him winning the championship in 2004 at SummerSlam from Chris Benoit, becoming the youngest world champion. which I think will stay for a while. I just don't see nobody that young winning the championship. I know I mean, your 24 is pretty young, but I just don't see anybody that young winning the championship. I mean, they would have to start in WWE at like 18 or something like that, which guys usually don't do. These come from independence, so that's one of the reasons I don't think that'll happen. Just Randy Orton really wasn't independent; he just came straight to WWE. But yeah, I always loved Randy Orton. I mean, I know a lot of people got tired of seeing the match, but the match he had with John Cena were great. I mean, the feud he had with Triple H in 2009, even though that WrestleMania match was terrible, but that still was a great feud. Even the stuff he did with Daniel Bryan in 2013, I really enjoyed. But I always really enjoyed the Christian feud, especially that Christian feud. Back in 2011, the One More Match feud, that was absolutely fantastic. I absolutely loved that as well. But you know, Randy Orton, I always loved Randy. Randy Orton's always been consistent, even though maybe he hasn't put all the effort into it or anything like that. But he's always been consistent throughout all of the years. He's always been consistent. And moving to my number 7 spot, maybe considered the biggest star in wrestling history is Hulk Hogan, which is a 12-time world champion. I believe he's a 6-time WWE and 6-time WCW champion, so he's half and half. 2-time Royal Rumble winner, I believe it's 1990 and 91. He won a Royal Rumble. And you know, Hulk Hogan, arguably the biggest star of all time, main evented the first 9 WrestleManias. He started the WrestleMania. To me, he's the biggest star in wrestling of all time. That's just to me personally. I think that Hulk Hogan is the biggest star of all time. He's actually a 2-time Hall of Famer. So he got inducted in 2005 and in 20. One of these years, he just got inducted with the NWO. I believe 2020 he got inducted. But yeah, it's absolutely fantastic. I mean, it's Hulk Hogan. I mean, the matches. I mean, probably my favorite match is the one with him and Rock at WrestleMania 18. But some of his earlier matches go back to there. The Andre the Giant match and the Ultimate Warrior match stand out to me the most. Those are the ones that stand out to me the most. Those are the ones I love the most from his earlier years. And his WCW run, my favorite match from WCW is probably the Goldberg match they had on Monday Nitro at the end of '98 when Goldberg is continuing his streak and he actually defeated Hulk Hogan. But yeah, I mean, of course, his run with the NWO, his first run in WWF when he put WWF on the map. And people always argue who's the biggest star. I think Hulk Hogan is the biggest star of all time. That's just to me personally. You tell me in the comment section below who you think is the biggest star. Is it Stone Cold? Is it The Rock? Or is it Hulk Hogan? Those are probably the top 3 biggest stars. I mean, some people say Flair, but I don't really think Flair is the biggest those 3. But those are definitely probably the top 3 biggest stars. But moving on to my number 6 spot, I actually have Stone Cold Steve Austin. Some people consider him to be the biggest star of all time. 6-time world champion. Well, WWE champion. I don't think he ever won the world championship. 6-time WWE champion, King of the Ring winner, 3-time Royal Rumble winner, which he actually still holds the record, which could be broken. Randy Orton, John Cena, I believe on the Triple H not active. Randy Orton and John Cena could tie. I don't think that record will be broken because they kind of were doing overkill with him winning the Royal Rumble that many times. And my favorite match for him is the WrestleMania 17 match. Rock versus Austin, which might be the biggest match in wrestling history. And he was inducted into the Hall of Fame in 2009. I believe in 2009 he was inducted inside the Hall of Fame. But I mean, Stone Cold Steve Austin. I mean, the feud that he had with The Rock. Feud he had with Triple H in 2001. And you know, a lot of people don't like the heel turn. I mean, you can say that in hindsight. I mean, I wasn't watching at that time because, you know, I wasn't born yet. But I can't say how it was at that time. So maybe that was the right call to turn him heel at that time. It actually hurt, and if he never got hurt, then it would have been him and Rock at WrestleMania 2000 in the main event where he would have turned heel. So maybe they already had the plan for him to turn heel, which I don't know why they wanted him to turn heel so much. Maybe they just seen him as a heel. But yeah, I mean, in hindsight, it was terrible, but at that time, I guess they thought that it was right. But I mean, Stone Cold Steve Austin, I mean, his last match was with The Rock, WrestleMania 19. That was an absolute classic match. That might be, is either out of that and the WrestleMania 17 match are my 2 favorites. The WrestleMania 15 match is definitely last on the list. Moving on to my top 5. And I actually have Shawn Michaels, who's maybe the greatest in-ring performer of all time. To me, it's Shawn Michaels or Kurt Angle. Or maybe somebody else on this list who I'll actually be bringing up later on. Maybe him too. You added them. But I think this guy is the greatest in-ring performer. I know a lot of people say Eddie Guerrero, which I personally don't see that. I think Eddie is great in the ring. But I personally don't see how Eddie Guerrero is the greatest of all time. I think that Shawn Michaels is the greatest of all time inside the ring. 4-time world champion. 2-time Royal Rumble winner back-to-back, 1995 and 1996. 2-time Hall of Famer with 2011, I believe he went to the Hall of Fame. And in 2019, with one of the years with DX. And my favorite match is the WrestleMania 25 match, of course. But, I mean, I can go through so many matches with his. The Hell in a Cell match, the matches with Kurt Angle, the matches with Undertaker, the matches with Triple H. I mean, there's just so much that you can go to with this guy. I mean, I think that he's the greatest in-ring performer of all time. Gotta go with Shawn Michaels at number 5 spot. At number 4 spot, The Undertaker. Of course, the first thing you got to say is the 21-0. Of course, the streak. 7-time world champion, Royal Rumble winner in 2007, which is probably my favorite Royal Rumble match of all time. Hall of Famer I believe it was this year. My favorite match is the WrestleMania 25 match, of course. And it just, I mean, it's not much to say about his career. I mean, it's absolutely fantastic. Probably my favorite feud is either the Shawn Michaels feud or the Batista feud back in 2007. Those two feuds are my two favorites from The Undertaker. I mean, just so many great matches, so many classics that he put on. Such a long and just great career they actually put on. And when moving on to my number 3 spot, my top 3, I have The Rock. And actually, The Rock, he's actually a 10-time world champion, a Royal Rumble winner in 2000. And, you know, The Rock, I mean, I think he's the greatest talker on the microphone of all time. I think he's better than Flair, better than Stone Cold, better than Roddy Piper. I think he's better than all those guys. Just to me personally, that's just what I personally think of The Rock. I think he's the greatest talker of all time. My favorite match of his is WrestleMania 18 with The Rock and Hulk Hogan. But yeah, I mean, The Rock, I mean, the Stone Cold feud, the Triple H feud in 2000, which is probably his greatest feud. The John Cena feud he had in the late 2000s, which, I mean, in 2010s, yeah, it's 2020, in 2010s, which probably some of the greatest segments that you'll ever see in WWE history, especially during that, especially the first build-up. The second build-up was nowhere near as great as that first build-up. That first build-up was absolutely fantastic. I remember every week just thinking, what are they going to do next? What are they going to say about each other next? I just thought that was absolutely fantastic and absolutely amazing. And moving on to my number 2 spot, I actually have AJ Styles. Now, AJ Styles, you kind of say he's a WWE guy at this point. Yeah, at this point, he's a WWE guy. But he always was my favorite inside TNA. It's always John Cena and AJ Styles. Those are my 2 favorites in professional wrestling. When I was really deep into TNA and when I was really watching it at that time, you know, AJ Styles was always my favorite. Then we came over to WWE. 2-time world champion. He's won tons of championships. And to be honest, I don't think anybody thought he had a success that he has in WWE. I think people thought that they would kind of hold him back a little bit, but they actually didn't. They actually pushed him a lot harder than I ever even expected them to do. But my favorite match is John Cena from SummerSlam 2016. I mean, he has so many fantastic matches with John Cena. The match he had with Seth Rollins and Money in the Bank. The match he had with Brock Lesnar at Survivor Series 2017. Was absolutely fantastic as well. I mean, so many great... I mean, there are some disappointing stuff, like the Shinsuke Nakamura stuff, but, I mean, and I thought that feud with Samoa Joe was great. I thought they had a lot of great matches in that feud with Samoa Joe inside WWE. I mean, the feud that he had with Roman Reigns, he's made himself a WWE guy at this point. I mean, people see him as a WWE guy. I don't think people even see him as a TNA guy at this point anymore. But I mean, he's absolutely fantastic. I think that he's one of the greatest in the ring. I still think he's the best wrestler in the world today. That's just to me personally, but that's my personal opinion. And moving on to my number 1 spot, I actually have John Cena. Of course, I mean, I grew up in 2000s. Of course, John Cena's going to be my favorite. 16-time world champion, 2-time Royal Rumble winner. And I mean, he's a Money in the Bank winner in 2012, I believe. But I mean, there's so many things you can say about him. I mean, he has had so many great matches. Kevin Owens feud, AJ Styles feud, Randy Orton feud, Triple H feud, Shawn Michaels feud. I mean, there's so many feuds that he has had that have been absolutely fantastic over the years. The Rock feud. I mean, just so many things he has actually. But my favorite match, of course, is the AJ Styles John Cena match, SummerSlam 2016. You know, John Cena gets a lot of flack for the way he was pushed so hard. But you know, I was a kid at the time, so I didn't understand certain things. But the crazy thing about it is that once I started to understand and realize certain things, he actually got way better in the ring and way better on the mic. So it's like, yeah, it was no reason for me to ever hate him. And, you know, I absolutely loved him. Had all the shirts, had everything like that. But I absolutely love John Cena. I mean, he's my number 1 favorite of all time. AJ Styles is the only guy who's actually that close to it. Tell me what you guys think about my list inside the comment section.